All right, so here's another spiritual concept of the day. This is Sheea Shafer from Maui, your spiritual Tantra love relationship coach, creative extraordinaire. um, so here's another really powerful concept that kind of was an aha moment for me recently. You know, I grew up in the non-denominational Christian background, and there's this one verse that says, all things work together for good to them that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. Now, I made a decision a long time ago that I belong to spirit, source, creator, whatever you want to call that being. And I made a decision that, you know, my life was in their hands, and you know, things don't just happen to me by chance, that it's all really orchestrated perfectly. And that is what I have found to be true, and that's how my life plays out. And then, you know, sometimes we're a little fairy tale-ish, I think, maybe even more so in America because of Disney or our fairy tales. But anyway, you know, I noticed there's some kind of programming around, you know, living happily ever after and just feeling like, oh, life should be glorious, you know, without all the drama that really life is. I mean, I found life to be quite messy and dramatic, and sometimes it's just a hot mess. And that's a lot of times where the biggest growth comes. The most painful experiences are the biggest leaps of growth in our evolution. And I wish that wasn't the case, and I wish sometimes that the game played itself out differently than that. But nonetheless, that verse really, when you really ponder it, it seems to me like it's saying all things work out for good to them that love the Lord and are called according to her purpose. We're all here for a purpose, so that includes all of us, unless you've just rejected God for whatever reason. And it says all things work out for good. Not just the good stuff, not just the good memories, but there's a reason why you have your parents and they are who they are, and your siblings and they are who they are. And you may not like them, or, you know, there's a reason why this tragedy or that midlife crisis or your problem with your child or whatever it is, divorce, you know, there's any number of things that befall us during our lifetimes. And it's kind of like we have a choice. Like, are we going to stand up to the plate and let this mature us, evolve us into stronger and better, or are we going to let it wound us and then complain about it for the rest of our lives? What's more effective? Really, that verse points to the truth that everything happens for a reason. And it kind of also tests your faith. Like, do you believe that or not? I do. I choose to. And I do believe it. Because, you know, that is part of creating our own reality. And if you don't believe it, then you're sort of opening yourself up to whatever, which doesn't sound very appealing. But it is, I just feels like I am learning, you know, like, because a lot of us struggle, and I'm one of them too, you know, where, you know, there's just things I really long to have in my life that I never got to have with my parents or my original family or my growing up experience. And we all have those particular things in our life. And sometimes it's really hard to heal over that. Like, gosh, I never got that, or I never was able to have that closeness with this parent, or whatever it is. And I think we all long to have, you know, healthy relationships and a happy life. And sometimes it doesn't work out that way so much. And I've chosen to believe, and just from all the spiritual sacred texts that I've read and having them all kind of validate each other over time of my life, and I'm 49 now, and, you know, quite avid on my personal path and my spiritual journey. And I feel like the way it was set up is we got what parents we were supposed to have. In fact, they even say we choose them. We choose them based on their gifts, based on the characteristics that we admire and that we're wanting to learn from and maybe assimilate into ourselves. That we don't really pick them for their faults, but, you know, for their strengths. And I know in my case, I long to be, you know, I wish I had a really close, awesome relationship with both my parents. I wish I felt really supported and seen and celebrated and enjoyed, and that just never felt like the case. And it's sort of an anomaly because I feel like there's so much to celebrate and enjoy. You know, I'm a very accomplished, sovereign, independent woman, but anyway, I don't know, they don't get it or whatever, right? So, but I also just trust that there's a reason for that and that it's perfect. Somehow in that imperfection that it's perfect. Because that's what I'm learning. That's what Spirit is showing me right now in life. And so it allows me to have more acceptance. And even though I don't have to know all the ins and outs of why it's perfect and how it has made me exactly who I am, and it's there for a reason, I don't necessarily have to know all those details, but I do trust Spirit, and Spirit has my back and is mentoring me daily. And I get to watch Spirit provide and bring synchronicity into my life in ways that I could never do it. And if I just back off and not get in my way or try to control it and just let Spirit perfectly orchestrate things, even though sometimes at first it looks like not the best way to go or not unfortunate that's happening that way right now, it always seems to actually work out for the best. And so I'm sort of been mesmerized by that, like, wow, this is really fascinating. And and it's helping me just heal over some of those things that I longed for. And like, I was always bummed, like, gosh, I would have loved being a daddy's girl. Just never happened. I mean, I think it happened before my brother was born, and then it's like it was all about my brother, as far as my dad was concerned. And they say that, you know, some of the most accomplished millionaires are estranged from their fathers or their parents in general or whatever. And there's obviously something about that experience of being estranged from one or both parents that makes you a fighter and, you know, like makes us want to make a stand for who we are. And sometimes in the lack of something, it'll bring about a certain energy in me that otherwise just wouldn't be there. And if I had everything provided for me, you know, like a like our, you know, goody two shoes version of what a family should look like and be like, I probably would have been a lot less strong, I'll say that. And because, you know, when everything just goes well and is perfect all the time, you don't really get to sharpen your character or see what you're made of, or, you know, there's a little bit of probably complacency I could see that could set in, you know, instead of like really being driven, like I want to overcome this, or, you know, I want to be seen. And I remember I was, you know, really an overachiever because it's like, do you guys see me? Are you ever going to see me? You know, are you going to ever appreciate all that I am and all that I do and all that I accomplish? And, you know, and they never really did seem to, but I do. I acknowledge myself in all that. And I'm very proud of who I am. And so anyway, I hope that's helpful for some of you, because that's a hard one to unravel when you've just really got almost like a chip on your shoulder about something, whether it's a relationship, And it usually ties back to our childhood for most of us. And we just, we had this longing to have this experience with one of our parents that we never got, or there were certain needs that were just never met that we longed to have met. And you wouldn't be who you are if it weren't for those experiences. So make the best of it, because a lot of life is, okay, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to make the best of it, or are you just going to whine about it? So that's my chunk of wisdom for today. Aloha.